Lines do not form by accident. Every line that has ever mattered, every succession of people through whom something essential was carried forward across generations, every chain of inheritance through which a quality or a calling or a specific kind of knowing passed from one person to the next, was assembled with a precision that the people inside it rarely recognized while they were standing in it. They saw the person in front of them. They saw the person behind them. They did not see the full length of the line, did not understand the specific logic by which each person had been placed in their position, did not grasp that the sequence they were part of was not a sequence of coincidences but a sequence of selections. Every selection was deliberate, including yours. You were not placed at the front of this line because you were the most available person or the most agreeable person or the person whose placement would produce the least disruption to the arrangements currently in place. Lines that carry something real have never been organized around convenience. They have been organized around readiness, the specific, tested, confirmed readiness of a person who has been through everything the line required of them before placing them at the front, and who has arrived at the front not diminished by what it cost to get there but deepened by it. You are at the front, and everything behind you, every person who stood in this line before you, every season they endured and every quality they developed and every cost they paid to advance the line one position further toward where it needed to go, that entire accumulated weight is now present in the position you occupy. Not as pressure, as power. Not as the burden of a debt you owe to everyone who came before, but as the specific, living inheritance of everything they built toward and could not themselves complete. You are the completion, not the ending. The completion. The specific person in whom the line arrives at what the line was always moving toward, the moment when all the accumulated inheritance, all the distilled wisdom, all the tested and refined and passed forward capacity meets the specific moment in the world that required exactly that combination and produces the thing that none of the people before you could have produced alone, but that was always going to require all of them to produce. The line was building towards you. There is something the line never told you, though. And it did not tell you because no one in the line was positioned to tell you. Not out of withholding. The people who came before you were not hiding anything deliberately, but because the full picture of what the line was building toward was only available to someone standing at the position you now occupy, looking back at the full length of what preceded them with the specific vantage that the front position provides and that no other position in the line can replicate. What the line never told you is this: the front is not the destination, it is the deployment point. Every person in every line before you who stood where you are standing understood, in the moment of understanding, that the position at the front is not the culmination of the journey but the beginning of the work. The journey was the formation. The formation produced the person. The person at the front is not the reward of the line. The person at the front is the instrument of the line. The thing the line was building, through all those seasons of all those people carrying what they carried at the cost of what it cost, was not a throne to sit on. It was a tool to work with. You are the tool. And tools that were built through the kind of process that built you do not sit. They move. They are applied to the specific work they were shaped for with the full force of everything that went into their shaping. They are not displayed as evidence of what the process can produce. They are used as what the process produced them to be. This is what it means to stand at the front. Not the receiving of what the line built. The becoming of what the line was building toward, the instrument, the point of application, the specific person in whom all of it was assembled for use. The use begins now. Let me speak about what it means to be next. Most people who use that word use it in the temporal sense. Next as an after. Next as in the person who occupies the position when the current occupant has moved on. Next in the sense of sequence, a position and a cue, an arrival and a rotation, the natural progression of time producing its natural consequences in the arrangement of who stands where. This is not the sense I am using. Next in the sense I am using means prepared, means formed, means the specific person whose qualities, at this specific moment, correspond most precisely to what the moment requires. Not next because time produced you in the right order. Next because everything that formed you produced the specific readiness that the position demands. Readiness is not the same as readiness feeling. This distinction matters enormously, and I will not pass over it quickly because it is the distinction that separates the people who step into what belongs to them from the people who spend their entire lives watching what belonged to them pass to someone else because they waited for the feeling to confirm what the readiness had already established. Readiness is a condition of the interior. It is the specific state of a person whose formation is sufficient for the assignment, whose capacity has been tested at the depth the assignment requires, whose character has been refined through the specific pressures that the position demands from the person who holds it. Readiness is a fact about what exists in the person, not a feeling they have about their own existence. Readiness feeling is something else entirely. Readiness feeling is the subjective experience of confidence, of settled certainty, of the particular quality of forward momentum that people associate with being prepared. It is real when it comes. It corresponds, in the best cases, to the readiness itself. But it does not always come when the readiness arrives. Sometimes it lags. Sometimes the formation is complete and the position is waiting and the readiness is present in every way that matters while the readiness feeling is still playing catch-up, still processing the distance between the last version of the self that felt confident and the current version that is standing at the front of the line without fully believing it belongs there. You are ready. You may not feel ready. Both of those things can be true simultaneously, and the one that determines what happens next is not the feeling. It is the fact. The feeling will come. It always comes, for people whose readiness is real, when the position is occupied fully enough for the doing of it to produce the confirmation that the waiting for it never could. But the feeling follows the action. It does not precede it. And every person who has ever stood at the front of a line waiting for the feeling to arrive before they stepped into the position is a person who waited longer than they needed to. Do not wait for the feeling. The fact is already present. Step into the position. Now I want to tell you about the specific people who stood in this line before you, because understanding who was in front of you changes how you understand where you are standing. They were not perfect people. I want to be clear about this because the tendency, when looking back at the line that produced you, is to mythologize the people whose position in it conferred their significance. To read their placement in the sequence as evidence of a completeness or a perfection or a fully resolved quality of character that their actual lives, examined closely, would not support. The line carried imperfect people. People who doubted. People who failed in ways that cost the line something real. People who advanced the line and then retreated. People who carried something essential forward and also carried something damaging that you will need to put down. The inheritance is not clean. It never is. The inheritance of any genuine line always contains both the wisdom that was distilled through the cost of living and the wound that was transmitted alongside the wisdom, because the wound was so integrated into the person carrying the wisdom that separation was impossible. The last person who stood where you are standing transmitted both. And the person before them transmitted both. In the line, if you follow it back far enough, is a long sequence of people carrying both, the essential thing and the damage that was attached to it, and the work of each person in the line includes the specific, difficult, irreplaceable work of advancing what is essential and stopping what is damaging. You are the person in the line with the clearest view of what needs to stop. Not because you are more perceptive than the people who came before you. Because you have the advantage of having received the accumulated transmission of the line and the distance, the specific, earned distance of someone who has examined what they received rather than simply passing it forward unchanged, to see what in the transmission was the wisdom and what was the wound. This seeing is a gift. It is also a responsibility that the people before you did not have access to in the form you have it, because they were too close to what they were carrying to see it clearly. You have the distance. which means you have both the opportunity and the obligation to do what the line could not do for itself from the inside, to separate the essential from the damaging at a depth that makes the separation real rather than cosmetic. This is the specific work of the person who is next in line, not the continuation of everything. The continuation of what is essential and the conscious, deliberate, finally possible stopping of what has been passed forward only because no one in the line before you is positioned to see it clearly enough to stop it. When you step into the position, you do not simply receive the inheritance. You curate it. You become the person in the line who determines, with the most complete information available to any person who has ever stood in this position, what goes forward and what does not. What the line was building toward and what the line was carrying by accident. What deserves to be amplified in the next generation of whatever this line is building and what deserves, finally, to be released. This is authority. Real authority. Not the authority of position, that is merely title. The authority of understanding what has been entrusted to you completely enough to make the decisions about it that the people who entrusted it could not make themselves. Next in line means next to hold this authority. Hold it honestly. I want to speak now about the people who believe they were next, because they exist, and because their existence has had a specific effect on your own understanding of your position in the line, and because that effect has not always served you, and because standing at the front of the line clearly requires seeing this effect for what it was and what it was not. There were people in your proximity, in your life, in the specific circles where the things you were carrying were known and visible, who positioned themselves as the natural next in the line, who communicated, through the specific language of assumption, that the position belonged to them not because they had been formed for it but because they had identified it and claimed it and organized their presentation of themselves around the expectation of receiving it. They were not wrong to want it. The position is worth wanting. What the line carries is worth carrying. The specific inheritance and the specific authority in the specific capacity to shape what comes next that belongs to the person at the front of this line. These are worth the wanting of them by people who can perceive their significance. What they were wrong about was the selection mechanism. They believed the selection worked through assertion. Through the confidence of the claim and the consistency of the positioning in the strategic management of every relationship in every room and every visible decision to support the conclusion that they were the natural next. They believed that the line organized itself around whoever declared their position in it most effectively. This is the misunderstanding of the line that the people who are not actually in it always carry. Lines that carry something real are not organized by assertion. They are organized by formation. The person who is next is not the person who claimed the position most forcefully or prepared the most convincing case for their placement in it. The person who is next is the person who has been through what the line required before placing someone at the front, who has the specific, internally sourced, externally tested, deeply integrated readiness that the formation produced. You cannot assert your way into genuine formation. You can only be formed. And the people who believed they were next, who organized their entire strategy around the claim to the position, are encountering now the specific consequence of having confused the declaration with the preparation. Their declaration was heard. Their positioning was noted. Their confidence was received, in the rooms where they deployed it, as the evidence of readiness it was designed to appear as. And then the moment of actual deployment arrived. And the declaration met the demands of the position. And what was built on assertion rather than formation could not hold the weight. The weight of the position is specific. It is not the weight of the title or the visible authority or the social confirmation that the position carries. It is the weight of the responsibility, the actual, daily, unperformable responsibility of carrying something real and advancing it faithfully through conditions that test the quality of the carrying. This weight does not respond to assertion. It does not lighten because the person carrying it is confident or well-positioned or surrounded by people who confirm their placement. It responds only to formation. to the specific depth of root and tested capacity in interior independence that the formation seasons produce in the people who move through them faithfully rather than around them efficiently. You move through them. Every season you were handed that the people who believed they were next managed to avoid, every period of genuine difficulty, every encounter with the specific pressures that the position requires its holder to be able to withstand, every season that looked from the outside like delay or difficulty or the absence of the forward motion that the declared next in line were producing invisible abundance, those were the formation seasons that the declaration could not replace. You have what the declaration cannot produce. In the position, the actual position, not the title but the specific weight of what is being carried and advanced, has responded to what you have by placing itself in your hands. This is how lines work. Not by the efficiency of the claim, but by the sufficiency of the formation. Let me speak about what changes when the person who is actually next steps into the position that was being held by assertion. It does not always change immediately in the visible sense. The visible arrangements, who holds the title, who occupies the room, who is named in the succession, may take time to reflect the actual transfer of position that has already occurred at the level that matters. Lines do not always reorganize their visible architecture at the same pace as they reorganize their actual inheritance. But something changes immediately. The quality of the work changes. Work that is done by someone occupying a position through assertion has a specific quality. It is often impressive, often highly visible, often produces the specific kind of results that confirmation seeking requires, results that are designed to confirm the assertion rather than to advance the actual work of the line. The results look like advancement from the outside, from the inside, from the perspective of the line itself and what the line was built to carry. They often look like motion that is going in the direction of the assertion rather than in the direction of the inheritance. Motion in the direction of the assertion rather than the inheritance is very active standing still. Work that is done by someone occupying a position through formation is different in its quality from the first hour. Not always more visible, not always more immediately impressive, but oriented differently, rooted differently, accountable to something different, not to the confirmation of the position, but to the substance of what the position carries and where the line was always moving. The difference in orientation, compounded over time, produces an entirely different body of work. You are beginning to produce that body of work now. Not beginning in the sense of starting. You have been doing the work of your formation and the work of your line for longer than the visible evidence of your current position suggests. Beginning in the sense that the accumulation of what has been built through the formation seasons is now available to be deployed in the full, authorized, unmanaged form that the position at the front of the line makes possible. What you build from here will be different in its quality from what was built before here. Not because you are trying harder, because you are trying from a different position, the position that was always yours, that the formation was always building you toward, that the line was always moving you into whether or not the visible arrangements recognized it in real time. The quality of the from matters as much as the quality of the toward. Everything built from the right position carries a specific quality that everything built from the wrong position, however impressive, lacks. The quality of alignment, of something being built by the right person at the right moment in the right direction, is not a quality that can be manufactured or simulated or substituted for. It is either present or it is not. And when it is present, everything around the building responds to it in ways that the assertion-built work never produced. The rooms respond differently. The people respond differently. The resources respond differently. Not because anything about the external arrangements has changed, but because the frequency of what is being built has changed. Because what is being built is now calibrated to the actual direction of the line rather than the asserted direction of someone who confused the line with their own ambition. The world always responds to alignment. You are aligned now. Watch what responds. I want to address something that the position of next in line always carries and that nobody in any line has ever successfully avoided, which is the specific quality of attention that the people who did not advance to the front will now direct at the person who did. Some of this attention will be generous. The people who recognized your formation and who are genuinely oriented toward the advancement of the line rather than their own positioning within it will extend the specific, practical, deeply needed generosity of people who can see what you carry and want it to succeed. These people are in your line. They have their own position in the sequence, their own role in the advancement, their own contribution that the line needs and that your position at the front makes possible for them to make. Receive their generosity without the suspicion that the previous season's encounters with false generosity may have installed. The real version is distinguishable from the false one, and you have the formation to make the distinction. Some of the attention will be surveillance. The people who believed they were next, and who have not yet reconciled themselves to the reality that the position moved in a direction the assertion did not predict, will be watching with the specific intensity of people who are hoping to find evidence that the selection was wrong. They will be watching for failures. For the specific failures that their own positioning was designed to prevent, the failures of confidence or authority or the visible management of the room that the assertion had always produced in impressive quantities. They are watching for you to need the assertion they have and do not have the formation to back. You do not need the assertion. You have the formation, which means the failures they are watching for will not arrive in the form they are expecting, and the surveillance will produce the specific, uncomfortable result that all surveillance of a correctly formed person produces, the accumulation of evidence that the surveillance was based on a wrong prediction, which requires either the revision of the prediction or the intensification of the surveillance in the hope that more watching will eventually produce the confirmation. Most will intensify the surveillance before they revise the prediction. Let them watch. What they will find is not what they are looking for. They will find someone who does not need confirmation doing the work without needing confirmation. They will find someone whose authority is rooted in formation rather than in assertion, which means it is not destabilized by the absence of the continuous external confirmation that assertion requires. They will find someone occupying the position with the specific, infuriating, completely unperformable ease of a person who is doing what they were formed to do rather than what they position themselves to do. That ease is your answer to the surveillance. Not as a performance of ease. Performed ease is visible as performance and is therefore confirmation of the unsettledness it is trying to conceal. The actual ease of someone who has arrived at the position that was always theirs and who recognizes the recognition in the specific, quiet, deeply grounded way of a person who has been here before in the sense that matters, who has been carrying this line in the interior of their formation, long before the external arrangements made it visible. Now I want to speak about the specific work that the next in line is called to in this particular season of this particular line. Because the position is not abstract. The inheritance is not theoretical. The line is moving through a specific moment in the world's development, and the work of advancing it is specific work, with specific requirements and specific obstacles and specific resources and specific people who are required for its completion. The first work is the claiming of the rooms that the position opens. Not all rooms are equally important. Not all the access that the position at the front of the line provides is worth pursuing with equal urgency. The temptation, when the position moves and the access expands, is to pursue all of it, to enter every room that the old position made inaccessible, to make the expansion visible, to demonstrate the scope of the repositioning through the breadth of the new access. This is the behavior of the assertion, not the formation. The formation knows which rooms advance the line and which rooms are simply available. Available is not the same as important. Some of the most available rooms, the rooms that will open quickest and most visibly in response to the repositioning, are the rooms that the line has the least actual use for. They are the rooms that are excited by the position because the position produces a specific visibility that benefits the room, not because the room produces anything that benefits the line. Pursue the rooms that advance the line. Let the rooms that are simply available remain available until the work of the rooms that matter creates the actual need for them. The second work is the specific identification and empowerment of the people who carry the next position in the line. The next in line does not work to become irreplaceable. The kings who worked to make themselves irreplaceable were always the kings who broke the line, who converted the position from a point of passage in a succession of advancement into a monument to their own occupancy, who so thoroughly centered the line on the particular form of their own carrying of it that the line, when they passed, had no structure for continuing that was not a copy of what they had done. Copies always degrade. The work of the person at the front of the line is to advance the line to the next person who is being formed for the next position. To create, through the quality of the work and the deliberate investment in the people who are coming up through the formation seasons behind you, the conditions in which the line continues beyond you with the same essential quality it had in you, without depending on the continuation of your specific form of carrying it. The line must outlive every person in it, including you. Your work creates the conditions for your own succession as actively as it creates the outcomes of your own occupancy. These are not competing priorities. They are the same priority viewed from different timelines. The occupation done well produces outcomes. The occupation done exceptionally produces outcomes in succession, produces both the immediate advancement of what the line carries and the long-term continuation of the capacity to carry it. Build both. The third work is the specific, sustained, non-negotiable protection of what the line is actually carrying. Because the position at the front of the line attracts attention that is not always oriented toward the advancement of the line. It attracts people who want proximity to the position for their own reasons, reasons that may be entirely legitimate in themselves but that are not always aligned with what the line requires. It attracts resources that come with conditions. It attracts opportunities that are genuinely valuable but that pull in directions that the line was not moving before the opportunity arrived. The protection of what the line carries is not the protection of the form. The formal change must change. The last king's work of translation is ongoing, and the next in line continues it in the specific form that the next moment requires. But the essence, the specific, irreducible thing that the line was assembled to carry forward, must be protected at every stage of the form's evolution. This requires the specific, daily, never fully completed work of knowing the difference between the essential and the form of the essential, between the thing the line carries and the container the line currently carries it in, between the direction the line was always moving in the direction the current moment's most available opportunities are pointing. The knowing of the difference is the specific authority that belongs to the front of the line. Use it. There is a fourth work that does not appear in any account of what the front of the line requires, but that every person who has ever stood at the front has encountered and that you will encounter, and that I want to name before you encounter it so that when it arrives you recognize it as the work and not as the threat it initially resembles. The fourth work is the management of the visibility that the position produces. The front of the line is visible in ways that the positions behind it are not. Not always immediately. Not always in the dramatic, public, undeniable way that the people who coveted the position imagined when they imagined having it, but visible in the specific way that the person at the front of a line that is moving is always visible, to the people who are watching the line, to the people who are threatened by the direction it is moving, to the people who want to get close to what the line is carrying for reasons that range from genuinely aligned to fundamentally opposed. Visibility is not the problem. Visibility is the natural condition of the position. The problem is the specific distortion that visibility produces in the people who are watching when they do not have access to the full picture of what they are seeing. They see the position. They see the front. They see the person who is at the front at this specific moment in the line's advancement. And from that partial picture, they construct a story about the front that is shaped more by what they need the front to be than by what the front actually is. Some will construct a story of threat. Some will construct a story of resource. Some will construct a story of symbol, of the thing you represent to them regardless of what you actually are, and will relate to you as the symbol rather than the person, will bring to every interaction the emotional freight of their relationship with the thing you symbolize rather than the clean, direct, person-to-person engagement that the work of the line requires. Managing the visibility does not mean reducing it. It means developing the specific discernment to know which of the stories being constructed about you are worth engaging and which are not worth the energy of engagement. The threat stories from people whose position is genuinely threatened by the direction the line is moving. These require clear-eyed acknowledgement and strategic management, but not defensive response. The resource stories from people who want access to what the position carries. These require discernment between the people whose access would advance the line and the people whose access would redirect it. The symbol stories, these are the most complex, because the people who carry them often carry genuine emotion and genuine need. In the management of the visibility they direct that you requires both the protection of the work and the honoring of the human being in front of you who is, regardless of the distortion of their story, real. You are not just managing a position. You are managing the human consequences of what the position means to the people it is visible to. This is the invisible work of the front. Do it with the same deliberate attention you bring to every other dimension of the position. The line depends not just on the quality of what is carried, but on the quality of how the person at the front moves through the world that is watching the carrying. I want to close by telling you what the line looks like from the vantage point of someone who has watched it for as long as I have. Lines that carry something real do not always move quickly. They do not always move visibly. They do not always move in the direction that the people watching from the outside would predict based on the resources and the momentum and the apparent strength of what was assembled. They move according to the readiness of the person at the front. And when the person at the front is ready, truly ready, in the specific, formation confirmed, tested and verified sense of a person who has been through what the line required and arrived at the front carrying everything the arriving required and nothing it did not, the line moves with a force that the previous seasons of apparent stillness give no indication of. The stillness was not stagnation. The stillness was the last of the formation. The gathering of everything that was needed for the movement that is now possible. You are at the end of the stillness. The movement that is now possible is the movement that the entire line has been building toward, through every person who held the position before you, through every season they endured and advanced and passed forward, through the full accumulated distance of everything the line has traveled to arrive at this specific moment with this specific person at the front. With you, at the front, carrying the full inheritance, formed for the full position, ready for the full work. The line is moving. You are next. You are now. Step forward with everything the line placed in your hands. The step is not tentative. It is not the careful, testing the ground step of someone who is not sure the position is theirs. It is the full, committed, completely certain step of someone who knows what they carry and knows why they carry it and knows that everything behind them built toward this step and everything ahead of them depends on this step being taken with the full weight of what was assembled to take it. The full weight. Not the managed version. Not the version that conserves some portion of what you carry for a future moment that might require more certainty before the full commitment. This is that moment. The line assembled everything you are and everything you carry and everything you have been formed through for exactly this step. Take it. You are next in line. You are the line. Move.